Hey, greetings. We're now getting ready to go live. Welcome to Dorsey's Resource. We're now currently live. I'm your host, John Dorsey. Welcome back to another show. By the way, I know it's been a minute. I just wanted to do a follow up video. The topic of this video is going to be a very emotional past couple weeks to months follow up video to my previous video. So, this is like a part two because when I previously came before you guys, just to give you all the update, I just wanted to let you guys know that I deleted two of the other previous videos, but I kept one of them up because I kept having issues with the technical issues with the video going out. Actually, at the time, I was on my phone, it kept timing out. So just wanted to go do a kind of a recap and I didn't really plan to be before you guys, but this happens to be on July 4th. So if you do celebrate, happy holidays to you. Happy 4th of July. If not, that's cool. I understand. Happy if there's a new to the indigenous people. I don't know if it's called or renamed for some people. Happy Indigenous Day. I recognize that as well, by the way. And I do uh, recognize one of the previous holidays that just passed, Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, by the way. Without further ado, why I titled this video, how this has been a very emotional past couple weeks. First of all, I want to say I'm really happy right now. I'm in a very, very happy place because my court date, I didn't really get a lot of this out, but back in towards the end of February of earlier this year, I got pulled over by the police. I got cited for no car insurance, unregistered plates, and invalid registration. The police officer told me at the time before he left, he said, "If you get everything taken care of, we'll throw it out." Whatever he said, something like that. So I went up to the police station. However, the precinct, once I found it, they told me that basically it was too long, and I had to call the court. That I guess it had they wouldn't throw it out or whatever at the time. So I just decided to take a different route. I didn't try any of the sovereign stuff. I know I had a friend, someone I know in Telegram, was trying to convince me to use some methods, and I just said this time around I was going just going to go by the book. I wasn't going to try to put up a fight or do anything, use any type of remedies or anything at all pertaining to redemption education, any of that. And I also prayed about it, this whole situation as well. But one of the reasons it was emotional because during that time I was actually pulled over that day. I was en route to a car shop to get my car worked on, and this is before the one particular shop I took it to. It actually um, they did work on it, and I paid quite a bit of money. I actually paid several thousand, by the way. And I ended up later on had to get some engine work done. I'm just grateful the police officer, they didn't impound my car because one of my neighbors told me that they could have potentially if I was in the suburbs. Of course, one of the things I do like about living in Detroit, being in Detroit, I think to me they're one of some of the coolest police officers out the country. Detroit is like a sanctuary city, by the way. If you don't do anything real crazy, it's kind of something I have to. Some people may not understand, but I'm from originally from the state of Ohio, so I know I won't really go into that. But they're a lot more strict down there when it comes to traffic. We're not saying that they aren't up here, but there's differences. Of course, I won't. I'll let you kind of read between the lines, but I was grateful because I was actually on my way to the car shop. So had and I thought about this in my mind. I said, hopefully, because I knew the situation. I was basically what they call riding dirty out here, and I said, what if you happen to get pulled over? And sure enough, I wasn't breaking any traffic laws. I was sitting at a traffic light at the time, and the police officer, he pulled up right behind me. It seemed like he just came out of the blue, out of nowhere. And then I started to turn, but then saw his lights flicker on. I was like, dang, I was like, what did I was like, I wasn't speeding, but my friend of mine told me they have like these new cameras. If you pay close attention on top of their cars. He said that buddy of mine that's fraternal order police told me, and I didn't think about this. He obviously, knows some things and said they have where they make the officer automatically have to pull you over because it's in their computer system. It's linked to a camera. And I said I just started noticing they got these cameras on top of the a lot of the police cars now, because I kept wondering why it seemed like it was a lot more people getting pulled over, and more recent years. It hadn't happened to me yet because I pretty much, I'm a safe driver, and I just kind of noticed that. So he kind of wired me up. So I was just happy my court case got dismissed. They told me I would receive something in the mail, which I just did recently. The reason I was concerned at the time, I was nervous after I went to the police station and I called the court as they instructed me to. One of the days I talked to the clerk and she told me once she looked my case up, she basically said it hadn't gotten in their system. Or once she found my case number, my name after I gave it to her, she was like, "Oh, you're gonna have to pay a big fine for some of these charges." So I told a friend of mine about it. He was like, "Man, you and pretty much." He didn't think, he gave me his opinion about it, and I was like, I was really nervous how things were gonna play out. So I'm glad I got some advice. I didn't hire an official lawyer. I was looking into it. Potentially, I just ended up going along with the court appointed attorney they have in both instances. For my first hearing that I had back in March sometime, and then my pretrial hearing was just last week, actually last Thursday, the 26th of June. And that's when I found out. And I actually it was really my second time, because they do the court dates, the court things and stuff on Zoom. That was actually my first time. My second time ever doing that before, because I really, have not had experience dealing with situations like that. But I prayed about it in advance, and I'm glad. I'm happy things worked out. That was the, really one of the big things that I was concerned about, because I didn't know when the clerk told me some months ago I was going to have to pay a big fine. I was really nervous about that, how that was going to play out. So, that's that happened. And yeah, then I also found out on when I went out with on my mom's birthday with my sister. I went to meet them at a restaurant in I believe it was Dearborn Heights, Michigan. And I found out after, as we were leaving, and I was going back to my car in the parking lot, my mom told me that my father, who lives in the Cleveland, Ohio area, had been diagnosed with dementia, I guess. And then that told me, by the way, that means he doesn't have that much longer probably to live. When I looked up, things of that sort, he was already, dealing with, a sickness from years ago, by the way. And that kind of hit me just out the blue at that time, at this point. And all of this was before my court hearing, by the way. And then I also found out that at the time, the former video vixen talk show host from MTV and BET's Teen Summit. I went over this before. I know this is old news, but Ananda Lewis had passed away. Even though I had never met her before, she was somebody that I knew of. I followed her during my generation, back in you could say the late '90s into the early 2000s. And I was actually one of the first several hundred people to follow her on Twitter. She actually mentioned at one time she was actually very elated, surprised that a lot of fans had remembered her and found her on there before. As these platforms were growing, I remember some of these people, when the stars were getting on there for the first time, their followings weren't as big. Like I followed the actor Tessa Thompson before her, following really exploded to the numbers that it's at. Just so you know, I was one of the actually very first people that actually followed. But I was just shocked because I thought she was gonna beat. I knew she had got diagnosed with cancer. I found out some months ago because I also follow her on Instagram as well, and I was just really stunned that the news came down all of a sudden. So, it's pretty much just I was just in shock. I also found out that Brian McKnight's second oldest son, named Nico McKnight, had passed away. In case those that don't know or didn't find out, he actually died before, just a little bit prior, to some days prior to Ananda Lewis, and I believe he was battling cancer as well. He was already diagnosed with, but both of them, I think, were very, very young in their ages to, pass away. So my condolences go out to their families. I've never met Ananda before, but Brian McKnight Jr. actually used to follow me on Twitter, by the way, and I follow Nico as well. By the way, I actually saw them in person at a show years ago. After one of the shows that Brian did, he used to bring them on stage with him. And then after one of the shows was over with at Shane Park, which became Aretha Franklin, renamed Aretha Franklin Park after Aretha Franklin passed away. Mayor Duggan announced at Aretha's funeral they were renaming Shane Park Aretha Franklin Amphitheater. I used to see when I used to go to their shows. I went to basically all of Brian's last shows at Shane Park. I never got a chance to make it to his shows at the Motor City Casino before. I am aware of the some of the controversy, the stuff that happened went down. I have my own opinion about that. I think a lot of people don't know he had a bitter falling out with his oldest son. By the way, I think that played a major role. It's actually a legal situation. The way I looked at it, I can see it clearly from the way even when Brian, if he speaks about the situation, because his oldest son, a lot of people don't know, actually threatened him. On a Twitter post, he did delete it, but that happened some time ago. I don't, things kind of came to a head, but they had kind of. I understand what was going on. They were getting older and he had a new family. They actually lived with him at the time with his new wife for a number of years before he put them out the house and was trying to get them to. He mentioned be men and be on your own, stand up as a man, and basically, So I get with that situation. I think a lot of people were not giving Brian Senior a fair shake in that situation because a lot of entertainers, a lot of stars have been in relationships, multiple relationships, and have gotten divorced, gotten remarried, have children. And I just didn't understand why Brian McKnight is being singled out and he's getting all the smoke like that. It's just kind of crazy. So it is for what it is. But the meat and potatoes I was going to get into also why this was a very emotional past couple weeks and also couple months for me because there was a situation I'm just following up with. I'm going to try to speak in code where I was sent basically at my job to a particular location, by the way, where I was working at this clinic, and I met someone, by the way. I won't say, I'll try to be discreet, but you can check the previous video. And I just kind of want to give a recap from that situation as well. I've already was basically detached, moved on from the situation. By the way, I feel very good, and I was actually surprised. I was at work last night on a separate note. I don't know, maybe I'll get to that story later. By the way, but something happened basically when I was at work. At a particular site. I was working for the fireworks at Henry Ford Village. By the way, for the company that I work for, I was actually trying to get out of that particular detail, and because I'm a supervisor, I was required to work over there. By the way, just almost similar to where I was sent to work at this clinic because there's certain people that have to be trained on the site and they're shorthanded. And I kind of gave a recap in the previous video when I was sent over there. In case many of you all don't know, in the security industry, in many different types of career fields, there's major hiring, staffing shortages. By the way, this is very serious. I was told about this many years ago. I actually took management in college, but I was informed that this was coming all the way back in middle school, that there was going to be a lot of baby boomers were going to be retiring. There wasn't going to be enough of the younger generation to basically replace them. And they would need people, of course, to take care of them. This is why there's a major shortage in the hospital industry, staffing, nurses, doctors, etc. And that's even amongst law enforcement, security, skills trades industry, mechanics, you name it, etc. By the way, and there's also complications with the leapfrogging technology with training people. So they need what for my supervisory position. By the way, there's a large demand for floaters or flex officers, or people that can multitask, by the way, and that's a skill set that only certain people possess, are able to qualities that they're able to have. I was actually promoted some years ago because another friend of mine asked me. He said, "Why would you take the supervisory position?" I said, "Well, I was given a proposition at the time that my operations manager contacted me out the blue, and I'll get to the story later about the clinic situation. I'll piggyback to that, but just kind of letting you guys know, because this deals with the clinic. I have to, when I was sent over there, the guard has to be responsible for opening the gates, the front, there's a front gate, there's a rear gate to the facility. You also have to be responsible for disarming the alarm system. There's a gate, and there's keys that stay on site. You have to be responsible for basically opening certain doors in the facility before everyone gets there in the morning, and basically, and doing the same thing, not only opening but closing. And then when you're stationed there or scheduled at that location, at times periodically, someone that's on housekeeping, I have to go to a rear door system, opening the door when they need to take out trash or other things in the facility. Certain doctors they may need, or certain medical personnel need certain doors open, have to be responsible for. And I was dealing with there was another situation where some animals had gotten in prior, and that was really funny, by the way, very interesting. So just kind of giving you guys a background, because some people don't know. They think just the security field is just easy, that you don't do nothing at all, that you just sit there all day, and that's not the case. Also, sometimes responsible for delivering mail to different departments. I also keep up with daily reports, report writing, daily activity logs, things of that sort. People don't, and a lot of people don't like to do that type of stuff. People have gotten that lazy nowadays. It seems like with the younger generation, especially, they've done stories about, by the way. But getting back to the story, I was having a discussion with my mentor about this situation. I appreciate the advice, the input that he gave me, and I analyze things from different angles. I'm very analytical person. I even have a tendency to overanalyze. But I had, ironically, only reason why this situation was kind of more emotional for me, because when I mentioned I had approached the young lady that I had decided to, I kind of spoke in code. By the way, the date that it landed on was on 4/1/417, which that was actually the birthday of a friend of mine who used to date someone. Well, someone that he either went to school with, that he was acquainted with, that he actually fell in love with many years ago, by the way. And that was like the code date for her birthday. He would say 4/17. So without saying her name, he would say 4/17. I knew what he was talking about. That was his way, I guess, of coping with how he felt attached to her in that particular situation at the time. So when I was just curious, and I had caught feelings for this person that I had approached and everything of that sort, and I just wanted to look up. I said, what was the date that I approached her? And I told a friend of mine about it, and I was just totally stunned. I did this approximately 1 month later, literally to the day, like literally 31 days later, and I found out, and I was stunned. I said, "Oh no, you can't tell me out of all the days in the year that that was the exact date that I approached her." And it was 4/17. That's a code for April 17th. the fourth month, 17th day. And that was based on true story behind someone named Kareen, a good friend of mine, one of my best friends from years ago. I haven't been in contact with as of recently. I wanted to talk to him about the situation too, by the way. But he's married. Some of my friends, not all in my circle, are actually married. But I have another circle or immediate circle of friends, people that I know have known for quite a while that are not married. By the way, that I kick it with. I even talk to about different subjects of that sort. But I just thought that was things don't happen by coincidence. By the way, and think I felt that was a form of synchronicity. And come across these different videos where there's people that are very spiritual and they break down these different connections and symbolism. So this past April, that was the day I approached the sister I was interested in getting to know better in a genuine, heartfelt way. There's no agendas. I just noticed right after she pulled back. What I found was interesting is that she had a coworker, and the only reason I was a bit hesitant, she gave me choosing signals and everything. I was stunned by it because after I approached her, it sounded like she told me she was in a relationship with someone, but she didn't really clarify specifically, say outright that she had a boyfriend. But it sounded like she mentioned she was in a relationship. But some guys know that that doesn't mean that a person also is necessarily exclusive. And I meant to ask a different question when I approached her instead of asking. I try not to ask a woman when she's single. If I do a cold approach, there's a different type of line that I use that I ask. It kind of knocks out two birds in one stone, and it lets a woman know if she makes her feel comfortable. It's kind of like a game. It puts her at ease, but it also lets her know that you know about something that a lot of guys don't know about. When I mentioned this particular quote, I shared this with a friend of mine because I have one of my friends. He's very brilliant, just a beautiful, awesome mind, could speak multiple languages, just absolutely phenomenal. And I had to put him up on game and let him know, say, hey, you may not know females have a rotation too. By the way, just had to kind of share some things. And I came across a YouTube video not too long ago where there was a sister who kind of explained this unspoken code, something that a lot of men out there don't know about. But I got a chance to see some things many years ago because I lived with men who were really good with women, and I wanted to understand before I started studying redemption education. I refer to as a sovereignty status correction. I studied pickup artists. Just to name a few names out there, I studied David D'Angelo. Though you're dating, attraction isn't a choice. I studied Carlos Zuma, David Wygant, based out of California, who's one of the most dynamic dating coaches, pickup artists that I've ever come across. I've studied a plethora of people, because this particular discipline that I'm into is dealing with status correction. When I woke up to some things many years ago, you can only focus on so much at one time in your life when you're trying to accomplish a particular goal. So I had to really put that dating stuff on the side, and it was kind of I had to make a sacrifice basically, and being the type of guy that I am, I did a lot of soul searching because dealing with this situation recently caused me to do a lot of soul searching, and it taught me a lot about myself. And I said, this particular situation that I went through, I blame no one but myself, by the way. But I understood female psychology. So I felt really bad at first that I wanted to try to fix the situation at the time. And since, I think the vibe that she got, that since I didn't follow through, that she might have thought, oh, he's just flirting or he's too scared. And my friend helped me understand two things women don't like is messing with their emotions or leaving them straight, which I think was still an important part. And he told me one of the ultimate turnoffs to a woman is if a guy is scared. And it's not that I was scared. I kind of got, I will admit, I was nervous as far as following up. I had already initially approached her, but I was just shocked in the follow-up days to weeks after that. Her body language told me something completely different, and that's what kind of threw me off guard. But at the same time, I got kind of mixed signals because of her coworker. I would see them together quite a bit, and I just question sometimes. Sometimes I don't know. I didn't really ask them. I try not to be intrusive, but nowadays a lot of people play for the same team, so I kind of got mixed signals. But one day they were leaving out together before I actually approached the sister that I was interested in, and I made sure when they left out together that I looked at her directly. I was actually playing some music at the time. And she looked back. I said main reason when I saw her look back and smile at me, the one I was interested in, okay, I said, okay, she caught my vibe. I focused right in and looked directly at her, even though they left together. Because I said sometimes they would leave separately, but a lot of times they were leaving together. So when I explained this to a friend of mine, he was able to break things down, by the way. And it's kind of like females, they get help from their friends too, by the way. They do the same thing, so there's no shame in my game. But when I have my friends who understand, I just want to understand, get better at being able to deal with these types of situations, because I was sort of thrown off. And I remember when her particular coworker started, and I didn't want her to think that I tried to actually talk to her coworker, because I was not interested in her coworker like that. But I did say I like the fact that her coworker would always speak to me in the morning, many of the times, over 90% of the time. And I remember actually when she first started that she seemed like she was lost. I actually happened to be working at the clinic. It was over a year ago when her coworker started. But one day that the other doctor wasn't scheduled there, and her coworker was working, and I just asked her. I said, "Well, what's your name?" And she said, "I'm a doctor too." And then based on her response, the way she said that, then that let me know, oh, they must have talked about me. That shows that that carefully, from cause and effect. I don't know exactly what was said about me behind the scenes, but sometimes I don't know. Women can also, because they're competitive and territorial. I hope this isn't the case, but sometimes if you're showing interest, some women it can maybe upset one, or they can see an opportunity, because right after the one that I was interested in, right after she pulled back, her coworkers seemed like she started when she would leave, she started kind of giving me, it appears like, choosing signals similar, as though she wanted me to approach her. And I was not interested in her at all. And I feel from speaking with a friend of mine that if there was interference, that's one thing I don't like. I can't stand is interference, but it was a tough situation because I don't have experience when it's in this regard, because I was kind of got mixed signals. Like I said, I wasn't sure, because the one particular um, staff member that I was interested in, I referred to as Dr. C, or initial CC. By the way, told me it sounded like when I initially approached her, she was in a relationship. So I kind of backed up as of that. That's why I was kind of nonchalant, by the way. But like I said, the following, when I was scheduled over there, because I wouldn't even know sometimes when I would be scheduled to work at the clinic, because the person that worked over there, she asked me when I first approached her, when was the next time I would be working over there. And I actually honestly didn't know, because I cover for people when they call off sick or they have doctor's appointments. So when they sent me over there, I wasn't sure exactly. um so this one of the reasons, but I was just shocked when I came the following short days to weeks after. I totally was just surprised, and I was elated. It actually, gave me a lot of confidence, by the way. I was surprised that kind of that energy stuck with me, but it kind of, I got mixed signals, by the way, but that's why I was nonchalant with my follow through. Part of the reasons, but I will admit, you know, uh, since I had already approached, I wanted to try to be discreet. But what was difficult in the situation was that her coworker, when they would leave out at the same time or damn near the same time, and I was basically, trying to isolate the one and let the one know that I'm interested in her. I'm not interested. I was not interested in the other coworker, and because of analyzing the situation with a friend of mine, and he's giving me kind of a perspective because I can't say I do can say we know for sure that they did talk, but I don't know exactly what was said about me or what was described. But from what my friend shared with me, you have to be careful too, because women are very territorial. They are competitive with each other. And I did some research behind this. I looked up some videos on YouTube, and they talked about how black women can sabotage other women, by the way, in their relationships, and some women even talked about coworkers, for example. And I was shocked. I even saw a video from Dr. Boyce Watkins that actually did some type of video about this, but it wasn't dealing with relationships, but it was like for coworkers who could potentially, and they were black women that could potentially sabotage other black women, by the way. So I didn't want this to be construed as, and I looked, uh, when I asked, when the person that I was interested in, I'm kind of speaking in code, the staff member that I was interested in, when she wasn't working, and I asked the other staff member basically who told me, and they said I'm a doctor too. So that right there is what kind of let me know when they said they're a doctor, and I said I remember they actually told me their first name when they started, and I believe I looked her up, and I think her name, when I looked her up online, her first name was Kristen. I saw her full name. It took me a while, but I know how to do a search. I can do a background check on people, not stalking or nothing like that, but just I just wanted to know, because I'm like, you told me your name when you first started. You told me your first name. I remember you were looking like you were lost when you were there. I guess she felt maybe more comfortable of being around me because I happened to be working at the clinic that day that she started, but that was over a year ago. But I was not over there consistently like that. So I guess that may be one of the reasons why she maybe felt a vibe. But this was after, let me clarify, after Dr. C pulled back on the day she was off work. I just simply asked her coworker what was her name. I didn't try to talk to her like I was interested in, because I didn't approach her in the capacity or the same way that I approached the one that I was interested in. Let me say this on a side note. And going over this whole situation, I kind of understand from female psychology. This actually made me do a lot of research. It made me stronger. It made me a better person, because I said I'm going to grow from this. Um, you know, and from this particular situation, I use some of the mistakes that I made, and I fully own them, and I acknowledge them. The mistakes that I made in this situation, because I liked um Dr. C a lot, but I know at the same time it's like when you show women a lot of attention, they pull back, and that's not particularly good in some instances. By the way, I hate we have to live by these stupid dating relationship rules nowadays, but I've understood that many years ago. By the way, so I was trying to figure out for a while what had happened at the time after I got the mad choosing signals from Dr. C, which blew me completely off guard following up with her. And I was really close one of those days to walking her out and letting her know, but I was trying to be discreet and I had no way of really telling her. So I felt like I couldn't defend myself, because I don't know what was said if her other coworker was trying to potentially uh, saw opening a situation to say, oh, he ain't so and so because I didn't follow up with her in the way that I should have. It was basically relayed. So um, yeah, this is kind of an overview of that situation. So ironically, I just like I said, I happened to be working at this clinic on the day that on this particular time period, but I wasn't scheduled back over there for a while. So that's another thing that kind of made that made it difficult for me to follow through to kind of explain. But the last times that I was scheduled over there, I noticed I could tell by Dr. C's body language that she had pulled back. So in conclusion, the vibes that I get from her coworker named Dr. Taylor, by the way, right after Dr. C, after she pulled back, when I was trying to figure out what did I do wrong, was kind of superficial because I'm not interested in Dr. Taylor, by the way, at all. And because of that, what transpired, if you guys follow me so far, can understand where I'm coming from. That's only as a guy, it's gonna push me further away, because I'm the type of guy that if there's a woman that I'm interested in, I'm a one woman guy. I've never had threesomes, twosomes, or any of that type stuff. By the way, so that's just me personally. I can't speak for every other guy out there, but I'm at the point now where my paternal instincts are kicking in, and I don't have time for games, seriousness. But I was surprised at how fast I felt. I detached from the situation, but I was still feeling emotional about it, by the way, because of the way kind of things transpired, and I felt it didn't really go as planned the way that it should. But I've already definitely moved on, and I just needed to piece together, transpire, and I took some notes on this to basically say to never let this happen again, because I said I need to learn from this. And actually, I was at work, working Henry Ford Village last night. They did fireworks the past couple nights. It was my second night in a row, the first time being over there in like years. And I was speaking with a staff member that worked there, and I was actually surprised. By the way, they pretty much were wrapping up. Everybody the attendees had already came in, so things slowed down at a particular point. So everybody, my coworkers, were sitting down right there. They're getting ready to clock out, and I asked one of the staff members. I said she looked like somebody that I saw earlier, and I guess I was just having small talk. I wasn't really trying to actually like talk to her like that, but she was, in this instance, this was a white woman, by the way, and I won't say she was bad looking. She was attractive, for the most part. We had kind of a nice conversation. I was trying to actually cut it off. I wasn't actually trying to, like I said, I wasn't trying to pursue or anything like that. And I was just surprised that the way I got, mad choosing signals is so funny. After I got finished talking to him, my coworker asked me immediately, like he was trying to remind me, but I had already decided in my mind, like he was like, "Are you gonna go get her number?" Because he could hear I was like standing right there when I was having the conversation with my coworkers. They were sitting on this part that was along the flowers or whatever, this stone part. Everybody's just kind of chilling because we were on our feet most of the day, having to wand people's bags down and stuff like that. Check when people are coming for this particular event. And the lady that I was talking to, she's like a supervisor over the staff, and she told me she would not be there the following up days. And I immediately I said, "This is funny. I can't believe that as far as my sexual market value at the level that I'm at, I'm still attracting very, attractive women, and I'm not even a tall guy. And so I'm just really happy. I'm in a happy place because I had brought up before one of my subscribers when I had mentioned in the past that I had felt, certain black women are more judgmental than white women when it comes to guys' height. By the way, because I tell a friend of mine this all the time. If I was a taller guy, it would be a lot easier to get my foot in the door. As being a shorter guy, I have to work a lot harder. I have to be the best of the best. I have to be like the equivalent of the Navy SEALs, by the way, because women, they have a tendency to be more judgmental when they look at your either your status in society, if you have money, wealth, or physical attributes or height. And I went real deep scientifically. A lot of people don't know, a lot of guys don't know, but this is science has proven this. The taller a person is, they make $500 more per inch. Shorter men have to compete with taller men in society. Taller men are actually with certain height ranges. When you start getting 6'4", for example, they make a shorter amount of the population versus a man, let's say that's 5'6" or 5'7", makes up more of a higher percentage of the population. So men that are 5'6", 5'7", or especially the shorter it goes, like down to 5'4", 5'5", there's more men that are actually at that height, by the way. So it's actually more competitive, by the way. But I was talking with couple of coworkers who are actually my same height, build, whatever, and they had some interesting concepts behind that. But I go real deep, just me personally, the way I study things, and there's no shame in my game because I don't have. I also learned the aspect. I don't try to use no game at all. Because my cousin, who's really good with women, told me years ago, he was like, if the women see you with the books in your apartment or whatever, if they catch you, they're gonna think you're using the books on them. And I said, why not? You know, why? What am I trying to hide anything? So I also learned from studying dating psychology. There's an aspect of the game to just keep it real at the end of the day. Why do we have to live by all these stupid rules? Because that's the problem with society. People are trying to live by these different silly rules and things. And I think people miss out on relationships or miss out on meeting genuine people because of these stupid rules from, I don't know, colonialism, Western society, patriarchy, that said, but some of it is evolutionary psychology that's not understood, by the way. But I do understand why a woman does want, for example, I learned some years ago the types of women that I attract. The woman wants a man that is not taller than her because she's going to naturally, and human instinct, evolutionary psychology, she wants to feel protected by him. So as I started researching, I came across Alpha Male Strategies. When I bought his book back in 2018, I was studying some of his material, just watching his YouTube videos, and he mentioned that, and I just started figuring out, because for a number of years I didn't understand the types of women that I attracted based on what they call your sexual market value. It's like similar to judging a human being based off of different stocks. Like, you know, certain stocks are more expensive than stocks that are very cheap. Like, would a Walmart stock be as expensive as a Microsoft, Amazon, or Tesla stock, or maybe a Facebook stock? Stock would be like the cream of the crop, the creme of the creme. So you get the concept. There was also a dating coach I studied years ago named FJ Shark, who at a young age he used to trade stocks. He said he was one of the youngest people there, and he used to do better than a lot of the older guys that worked there because his psych him understanding the female psychology helped equivalate to his career success, by the way. And he mentioned he used a different terminology, but now it's put in the terms of sexual market value. There was actually a young lady I was training some years ago at a particular site, and she didn't know what that meant when I mentioned the term SMV, that stands for sexual market value. You can look it up. It's an acronym that helps you better kind of determine what types of people you attract. And I used to work with a guy, a coworker years ago. His name was Ron Brown, and I used to get advice. He used to take pictures of a lot of the women. He worked in the admissions department at Detroit College of Business, which became Davenport University. Real cool guy, by the way. He's funny, older guy, and like I said, he was like a professional photographer. And I was like, yeah, he seemed like he's really good with women. So back then I was a lot younger when I was studying this, and I said, since I was very inexperienced, brought up as a church boy and a mama's boy, so basically I needed to learn. I felt at the time soak in as much knowledge as possible. So I would just, different people I met at the college. So he was a coworker. He just worked in a different department. We see each other all the time, and I said, asked him for some advice one day, and he said, well, you should date someone who's a reflection of yourself. He kind of put it in that concept. And I thought that was an interesting concept. I never forgot the way he put it at the time. But he said you should date or talk to someone that is a reflection of you, by the way. So that was a very interesting concept at the time. So, but in conclusion, that's why I titled the video what I titled it. It's been a very emotional past couple weeks to months. This is like a follow-up video because some things I didn't discuss because my previous video was cutting out. I see some of you all in the comment section. By the way, I'm going to acknowledge you guys. Together we are one says, I hope all is well with you. Appreciate you for joining. Mary Saunders says, hello, Mr. Dorsey. Appreciate you. Together we are one says, hearing you talk about clock and game is kind of funny. Uh, Dollar Bill says, greetings from the ATL. Appreciate you. ATL in the house, Atlanta, Georgia in the building. Together we are one says, grand rising from North/South Carolina coastline from ATL though. Okay, that's what's up. The southern states. Grand rising to you as well. Together we are one says, I'm 5'4" and my husband is 5'7". I prefer that height. I don't like tall and lanky. Yeah, I know everyone there's different women that have mentioned their different preferences. That is closer to, let's say, the average height, by the way, for men, but it's changed throughout the years. As far as the average height for men, some people say it's 5'9". It's always been around 5'9", 5'10", but even at 6 feet at one time. But men who are below, I would say below 5'10", there's metrics that show when you start to go below 5'10", it's actually it's difference between men attracting, getting their foot in the door with women, because that's like it's tall for a woman, but it's short for a man. For when you're dealing with certain demographics in certain places. So, but this whole situation, I'm actually glad that this happened. I'm in a very happy place right now. Not only because my court case got dismissed, but I wanted to just tell you guys about that story and this situation about this young lady that I fell in love with. Too, by the way, I also already basically detached from her, but I was surprised at how fast that had actually occurred at the time. But I did still feel, you can say, emotions, and that's kind of why I tied in with this video, dealing with that situation. And what had happened is it caused me to seek out a lot of self-help material, which I already had, but it caused me to also work out. Another separate friend of mine had wired me up on something very powerful. He actually had helped me, got me these fitness watches, and was teaching me about heart rate variability. I had a Fitbit in the past, and then he helped me out with learning about VO2 max and heart rate variability. So I started working out, and I noticed at the time, I asked him what happened. It seemed like I became more disciplined, by the way. And he talked about NLP, and I knew what NLP was. It helped out with neuro linguistic programming. A lot of dating coaches that I studied actually talked about that, but I didn't realize when you train, you work out, you can actually reprogram the mind. You can discipline yourself better. So this helped me in my personal journey for my personal growth and where I'm headed. So this is one of the best things. I thought this was a blessing in disguise, but at the same time, I had feelings for this particular young lady. I was very, just something about her. I liked her energy, and it's a reason. When I first initially met her, and I asked her what department she worked in when I was stationed at the clinic, and she told me. And then before she left, I'm trying to just be discreet about which specific department she worked in, and she had forgotten to give me her business card. And she went back when I asked her about it again as she was leaving, and she said she forgot it, and she went all the way back just to get it for me. That right there is kind of one of the reasons that term really turned me on, and one of the reasons I said why not. I wasn't intimidated by all, and I originally did not know that she was a doctor, by the way, because I bring up my friend of mine asked me, and that's a funny story about that. I have another story too. I won't talk about that story in this video, that dealt with my primary care physician when I had a doctor's appointment not too long ago. I thought that was very interesting, by the way, but I won't go into that at the time. But also, before I shut this video down, just wanted to tell you guys about that. I also had a dream, because God at one time knew when I was dealing with the emotions I was feeling from this situation. You know, you ever have that one person that you like so much that you felt you couldn't have, and because it's symbolically the day that I had approached her was on 4/4/17, which is the April 17th, which is the exact birthday of one of my best friends growing up. Fell in love with a woman named Kareem, who used to live in Oak Park. He told me secretly years ago, and that was the code. He would mention her birthday, and I was like, it's like synchronicity. It's history repeating itself. So I was just in shock. I said, "Oh no." So she's like, could she be the one? Like, so there's some similarities. Things don't happen by coincidence. So there's no way in the world I think this is a coincidence. The way that this went down, this took place. So God knew this was bothering me one day. You know, when you feel, emotions, or you go through heartbreak, and you kind of feel that. So at one time, not too long ago, several weeks back, uh, this was during the day. I took a nap. I just got knocked out all of a sudden. I was in my bedroom. Normally, I pass out on the couch in my living room, but this particular day, I just passed out. I was actually in my bedroom just out of the blue, and I went into a real deep sleep. I said, "This was nothing but God." Actually, put me in a real deep sleep one day, and I had a dream specifically about her, the young lady I was telling the story that I fell in love with, and I talked to my mentor not too long ago, and I knew I've got a follow up conversation, due up with him, and I knew he could interpret dreams. By the way, he's done this for years, and he was able to translate the dream for me, and I was just like just stunned, just blown away by that. As far as it seems so on point, but it's one particular day. It's happened not too long ago, but out of the blue, God knocked me out. He knew the situation that I had so much love for this young lady, and I was going through it, but I was strong though, because I had already. It's weird how I had already detached, but you still feel emotions or whatever and vibe. And God knocked me out, put me in a deep sleep one day, where you have those dreams you can remember, because you go to sleep sometimes you don't remember your dreams at all. So I know I took psychology back in college, so this is very lucid, clear dream. I was knocked out, went into a very deep sleep, and it was specifically about her. And when I woke up, I could remember certain details from the dream, and what stood out. And I explained the dream to him, and he was able to basically translate it. And that really blew me away. Uh, and and it appeared to be on point, and that was separate from the other advice that he gave me in dealing with female psychology. As you know, because like I said, to reiterate, I grew up, I was forced to be the man of the house at an earlier age, and because I grew up a church boy, I tell a lot of people I was sheltered. My parents were overprotective of me. I wasn't allowed to listen to growing up to music that was considered secular. My mom in particular was really strict about that, by the way. So I even had a conversation with one of my former girlfriends. Just so you guys know, I'm not lying. I'll say her by her real name. Someone I actually went on dates with in the past. I used to uh, go on dates with that Northland Mall. Her name was Joy Morris, by the way, at the time. That was her full name. I don't know where she's been since she's gotten married, because I'm the type I do move on, and I don't go back. Generally, I don't go back to none of my ex girlfriends. I did have an ex in the past, a former girlfriend that tried to come back, and it's interesting. I discovered this guy's channel recently, and he's blowing my swagger. It's like going out through the roof, because compared to other dating coaches I've watched, well, he has a specific type of discipline that he goes over with guys to maintain men to maintain their masculine frame, to not get weak, and it really put things in perspective, and that really helped me out tremendously. By the way, coming across that information. So we had another statement in the chat. Together we are one says, I didn't know about the height thing. That's interesting. Yeah. There's videos and stuff about it on YouTube, but out of this whole situation that happened, I also look at it. This is a major blessing in disguise because I even discovered, like I said, I did a lot of soul searching. I discovered some very advanced information because listened to. It's kind of like I'm studying sex education, by the way, or dating psychology. Like I said, I put that on the back burner years ago before I actually started studying sovereignty. Believe it or not, I told a few close friends I studied dating books once again, just to throw some names out there. I studied David D'Angelo. He comes to mind. I think one of the cliches he used to use. He was based out, I think, out of the Chicago area. He would say, "Attraction isn't a choice." Was one of his big cliches. He would say. I studied Carlos Zuma. Read his book, The Alpha Male, The Seduction Method, The Dating Black Book, many years ago. He's another dating coach I studied. I think he's based out of California. And David Wygant, who, in my opinion, was one of the most dynamic dating coaches that I studied. Absolutely phenomenal, and mentioned some keys when I went back and looked at some of his older videos that I had on my backup hard drive or desktop computer, and it was right on point from what I went through recently. By the way, but it's all part of, this is part of growth, part of the spiritual journey. Things don't happen for a reason, but I think, from this situation, I'm definitely going to grow from this. I'm going to get stronger. I still got, to level up, things to work on myself, and that was not my intent at all. But this let me know I have some things that I have to work on. I admitted to some friends of mine. I take full responsibility, full accountability that I got weak. I let, my emotions get the best of me, not fully understanding, and I needed to get back into my masculine frame. So I felt, not just because I felt I let Chelsea down, but I let myself down, and I take full responsibility, and I'm hard on myself, very hard. I've always been this way. As a friend of mine said, you shouldn't be too hard on yourself because, mistakes happen, things. But I felt even at the age that I'm at, I should not be not know certain things, but it is for what it is. And I felt, if I didn't want her to feel like I did this on purpose. By the way, it was not intentional at all. But like I said, I did kind of get mixed signals, mixed vibes because of her coworker, by the way, and they were leaving out at the same time, and I was trying to catch Chelsea by herself, by the way. But my choosing signals were meant for her, and but that was not my intent to be too nonchalant at the time. But at the same time, I think she did kind of mention she may have been in a relationship as well. But I also know, like as I told a friend of mine, that unless a person mentions they're exclusive, things are kind of open field. It was kind of alluded to, and I won't say some other things, but but when I asked her, when I approached her, was she single, and she told me she wasn't at the time. But that was still an opening because I learned this from Joy years ago. Actually, since I brought up who I used to date, Joy taught me some years ago when I was in a relationship with her, and she said at the time, she said, "Well, we're not exclusive." When I admitted to her at the time that, ironically, this is back in the year 2006, that I had, gotten into a relationship with someone else at the time. But see, females, because she mentioned at one time she had a friend come in from Texas. This was years ago. One of my former girlfriends named Joy at the time, Joy Morris, who I used to talk to. When we had some similarities in our background growing up. She went to Redford. I think she graduated from Redford High School. I graduated from Cooley, right in the city of Detroit, by the way. But we crossed paths some years later. She's actually a little bit older than I am, and but we talked at one time, and I learned that basically from her when she mentioned about exclusivity. So, because when you ask a woman is she single, that kind of boxes her into a corner. Like I say, there's another line that I normally use, but because I was a little bit nervous, I admit, when I had approached Chelsea, that's why I had asked her the the question. I was kind of you know more direct instead of the line that I normally use. It puts a woman more at ease and also lets her know that you may have or she may have options or not be necessarily exclusive, by the way, in a relationship. A lot of guys don't know about that because, like I said, I have a buddy of mine who's really smart, he's brilliant, and I had to wire him up on game once again and say, hey, let him know, like, females have a rotation too. And there's a sister video I came across recently on YouTube where she mentioned how a lot of guys don't know about this, but I've known about this for years because I actually live with men who were actually good with, I would say, good with women, had a lot of success with different women, and but were genuine, good people that helped, with self-help and bettering, oneself for men and things of leveling up of that sort. They were all genuine people, by the way, and it's a good thing I went through those particular experiences at the time. So it is for what it is, basically. And I'm getting ready to shut the video down. By the way, I'm just looking for some other aspects I didn't cover. By the way, I was trying to figure out. But like I said, to reiterate from earlier, I felt really bad about the way things went down with the situation because I didn't want her to think I was too scared. I was gonna approach her after I did initially, after I got major choosing signals. That's what threw me off the following days to weeks after, before she decided to pull back. But what could have also contributed to that was her coworker, because that's why I mentioned earlier that women are very competitive. And I had something like this happen before when I talked with a friend of mine some years ago. I had a couple different situations when I used to talk to. There was a young lady named Elizabeth, who, when I used to be a security guard at Home Depot in Dearborn, Michigan, years ago off Ford Road. And this was back around 2003, I want to say, that particular year. And there was a young lady I had met. Her name was Elizabeth Bell. That was her full name at the time. I know since then she got married. By the way, I don't know if she's still with her husband, but she had a friend that worked at the store who I knew as well, named Amanda, by the way. And when I got in a relationship with Elizabeth and we were first talking, Elizabeth said that Amanda told her that I tried to talk to her. And I said, no, I said, I only got rides at the time. I didn't have a car. I only got rides home from Amanda. But there was another coworker that Amanda was really tight with that worked at Home Depot because I was on the security part, even though I worked at the store, but I wasn't hired directly through Home Depot. But there was another guy that worked there. So sometimes females will also throw shade because of their competitiveness, that they're interested. And if one guy, I guess, is showing more interest, and sometimes females, I don't know if that's the case, but I do know I can say that when Dr. Taylor, when I asked her name, when she told me originally what her name was the first day that she started, I believe when I looked her up, her first name was Kristen, I believe. But when she said I'm a doctor too, that let me know that she must have talked to Chelsea about me, and uh, so it is for what it is. So, but like I said, reader, I take full responsibility. I just felt bad about the situation at that time, and you move on. You make mistakes happen. Like I said, I already detached. I pulled back, but I had a lot of feelings. And for Chelsea, and I fell in love with her. And I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to show vulnerability. I'm not afraid to show emotions because a lot of people nowadays, I think, put up a facade. By the way, and I'm kind of, I'm just real. Just keep it real at the end of the day. By the way, so it is for what it is. But I had no way. I tried to write a letter to her. She didn't respond. And I know in these type of situations, when a woman pulls back, they don't they don't necessarily respond, and I know understand. But I wanted her to know because I don't know exactly what was said, and I felt I could not, fix the situation because guys as guys want to fix a situation. And one guy I was listening to earlier said, "There's nothing you can say to fix the situation." He said, "You basically, you gotta you gotta pull away completely." And I was like, I hope this is not the case, but with the symbolism behind 417, and I was like, wow, this out of all the days in a year, when I traced the days back that I had approached Chelsea, it landed on April 17th, which was Kareem's birthday. What ironic coincidence could that be? And I'm not really, I don't really do the birthday thing for it, by the way, like with clout chasing on Facebook. I have another Facebook account that I actually deactivated, but I created one just specifically in particular. But I kind of keep that. That's for a particular reason. If you read between the lines there, but I don't even really like acknowledge birthdays, even sometimes even celebrate my own birthday. Do different because I'm working a lot of times, quite a bit. Just the way my calendar, my schedule goes. But I just thought that was ironic that that date landed on her birthday. By the way, the synchronicity out of all this. But I just wanted to basically put it out there. So once again, since I didn't follow through, she might have thought, oh, he's just flirting or he's scared. And I understand now that two things women don't like. Some of them is messing with their emotions or leaving them astray. And that was not my intent. I did not mean to do that, and I was really close to following up, but I wanted to be discreet at the same time because I was at work. And one of the days, a couple times, she had left out at the same time with her coworker. I also didn't want her coworker to feel slighted, by the way. So I try to isolate woman that I'm interested in when she's by herself, by the way. But I really, felt her, and I just, tell my story. I'm just sharing this with you guys. That's whole part of this journey. But like I said, I did a lot of soul searching. I'm going to learn from this. I already have grown. I got still have I've got growing to do, and I've learned a lot of information tremendously. I was going to mention earlier, I've been watching some videos from different urologists on YouTube, some roundtable discussions. This one channel that has discussions about relationships, and they actually have a urologist on their panel, and they discuss things with the psychology between dating and mating between men and women and relationships, by the way. And you guys know that's something I don't really discuss or talk about, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not afraid to show vulnerability or open up, because at the end of the day, I want to keep it real. I'm authentic because I think some of the problems nowadays is too many people are putting on a facade, and you have too much game that's going on, and you don't see the genuineness. I think it's hard for people to see a person that's really genuine or sincere, because so many people don't know somebody's actually just trying to run a game on them. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it is for what it is. I don't want to bore you guys, but thank you all that still continue to rock with the channel, that continue to follow me and support the channel. Keep in mind, my new channel is at Dorsey's Resource 873. Even though I haven't put out any content over there as of lately, um, I will update you guys any new developments down the road. Anything changes, I'll keep you guys posted. But like I said, continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys that continue to follow me, rock with me, etc. Peace. I'm out.